Hi, my name is Don L Rondeau, and for 20 years I have been leading homeland security, anti-terrorism, and emergency management projects and programs for federal, state, and local governments. And during that time, I've been positioned to conduct post-analysis and after-action reviews of some of those same circumstances, man-made and natural disasters, where there have been casualties. I've been able to identify trends, both anecdotal and scientifically valid trends, that identify the potential for African Americans experiencing a comparatively higher casualty rate, reference man-made and natural disasters. That is to say that at times African Americans demonstrate a diminished capacity to survive compared with other racial demographics in relation to or as a result of man-made and natural disasters. I've also looked at circumstances that are not typically included in preparedness. In particular, a circumstance like sustained community violence. That is not typically considered a disaster or a crisis, and it doesn't typically elicit an emergency response, but my preliminary research indicates that the casualties, the mental health impacts warrant such consideration. Sustained community violence could be the only circumstance in the country where we allow hundreds of fatalities per city, in some cases, in major metropolitan cities, without some sort of declaration. I'm interested in getting to the bottom of that. And like other circumstances and conditions that this country focuses on, I think it starts with setting a benchmark, having a state of preparedness report, a state of the status of African Americans in relation to man-made and natural disaster readiness. So that's what I'm embarking upon, to be able to create the momentum for what will be the first African American State of Readiness report. I'm doing this out of an obligation, as I certainly have been involved in protecting those who are most vulnerable. Those who are most vulnerable, I believe, include African Americans. And I do this in part in protest. As a country, we have accepted a status quo that allows for hundreds, if not thousands, of annual deaths of African Americans through sustained community violence, and a higher incident of casualty and fatality for man-made and natural disasters like COVID or hurricanes, as an example, for African Americans. So bear with me as I move through this process and create our nation's 2021 the State of African American Readiness Report. The methodology that I have utilized to create this report involves multiple phases, and at each phase there is a subject matter expert vetted survey. The phase 1 survey respondent results are in. I've conducted a preliminary analysis. I will be sharing those that responded data to you now via this video. It's also available in print, and I'm available to discuss the respondent results and the future plans for the State of African American Preparedness report. The best way for me to do this is really to just navigate through the report, talk about it in an organic, off-the-cuff fashion, and again, position those who are interested to contact me for more detail. This is a self-funded initiative, a self-launched initiative. I have not been tasked to do this. I do this again because I protect people for a living. It's my calling, and I believe that African Americans are relatively less likely to survive a disaster, man-made or natural, and are subjected to circumstances that others are not, which negatively impacts the survivability of African Americans. I created survey questions. I have those survey questions vetted by relevant professionals in the emergency management, homeland security, related fields. I settled on 27 questions. Those survey questions were submitted across the country, across different demographics to include gender, age, different economic demographics, geography, of course, and I've received completed surveys from 222 respondents. The survey was issued under the title Don L Rondeau's State of African American Preparedness Survey. And again, this is a phase in the development of the State of African American Preparedness Report 2021 that's in development. I will go through the questions. Question 1, are you aware of the types of man-made and natural disasters that are likely to occur in your community? 19.8 respondents state no, that they are not aware of the types of disasters that are likely to occur in their community. Question 2, are you aware of the types of man-made and natural disasters that are likely to occur at your workplace? 72.5 say yes. 27.4 say no. I'm going to move through these quickly. It's a lot of data. And again, you can contact me for further detail in written copies. Question number 3, have you prepared a go bag, a bag of the supplies that you would need in the event of an emergency evacuation? 51.8% say yes. 48.2% answer no, that they have not prepared a go bag. Question number 4, have you created an emergency evacuation plan? 57.2% say yes. 42.7% say no. Question 5, do you and your family have the knowledge and supplies necessary to self-sustain for a minimum of 3 days? 78.83% respond yes. 21.17% respond no. Question 6, have you reviewed the readiness and preparedness information at official government endorsed sources? 42%, 42.79% respond yes. 57.21% respond no. Question 7, have you created an emergency communications plan? 48.65% of the respondents say yes. 51.35 respond no, that they have not created an emergency communications plan. Question 8, have you and your family discussed what to do in the event of an emergency? 67.57% of the respondents answered yes. 32.43% answered no to that question. Question 9, do you believe that the government has the ability to protect and or rescue you during an emergency? 56.76% answered yes. 43.24% answered no. Question 10, do you believe that your community's emergency response plan effectively addresses African American concerns? 43.24% answer yes. 56.76% answer no. Question 11. Do you have the financial means to assemble the supplies necessary to self-sustain for a minimum of 3 days? 78.38% say yes. 21.62% say no. Question 12. Does your health make preparing for an emergency difficult? 45.50% say yes. 54.50% say no. Question 13. Do you believe that bias and racial discrimination make surviving a disaster more difficult for African Americans? 78.3% respond yes. 21.17% respond no. Do you believe that the extreme levels of community violence, as an example, murder, assault, gang violence, should qualify as a declared disaster? 82.88% say yes. 17.12% say no to that question. Question 15, do you believe that African Americans are less likely than other races to survive a disaster? 63.51% say yes. 36.49% say no. Question 16, could you Question 16, could you self-sustain during a disaster for 3 days or more? 83.33% respond yes, that they could. 16.67% respond no, that they could not self-sustain during a disaster for 3 days or more. Question 17, could you self-sustain during a disaster for 2 weeks or more? 63.96% respond yes, that they could self-sustain during a disaster for 2 weeks or more. 36.0% respond that they could not. Question 18, do you identify as African American or Black? 88.74% say yes. 11.26% say no. Disclaimer is, it is our belief that African Americans answered this survey, and we're still investigating the impact of the response rate or the percentages to that question. Question 19, could you self-sustain without any help from the government for 30 days or more? 53.60% responded yes. 46.40% responded no. Do you believe that you may require access to a legally obtained firearm to protect yourself during a disaster? Question 20. Do you believe that you may require access to a legally obtained firearm to protect yourself during a disaster? 65.77% responded yes. 34.23% responded no. Question 21. Has your safety been impacted by riots? 32.43% responded yes. 67.57% responded no. Question 22. Do you trust first responders, police, fire, rescue to act in your best interest during a disaster? 61.71% responded yes. 38.29% responded no. Question 23. Does your community have a preparedness group or club? 30.63% responded yes. 69.37% responded no. Question 24. Do you believe that you are fit and healthy enough to survive a disaster? 80.18% responded yes. 19.82% responded no. Question 25. What type of disaster do you fear most? The answer choices and responses are as follows. Flood, 22.97%. Fire, 15.77%. Hurricane, 7.66%. Tornado, 9.46%. Riots, 4.05%. Sustained violent crime, 10.36%. Sustained power outage, 4.05%. Blizzard conditions, 1.8%. Earthquakes, 5.86%. Pandemics, virus, disease, 15.32%. Landslides, 1.8%. Avalanche, 0.9%. Question 26. Who is most responsible for your safety and security? Answer choices are as follows. Answer choices and responses are as follows. The authorities, 15.77%. You, the individual, 37.39%. Both equally, 46.85%. At the question 27, which is the final question of the survey, it is advised that you review the preparedness information made available via official government emergency and disaster response organizations. Do you plan to do this? The answer choices and responses are as follows. Yes, 87.39%. No, 12.61%. A word about the demographics. 0% of the participants were 18 or younger. Everyone was an adult. 31.98% of participants were between the age of 18 and 29. 33.33% of the respondents were between the age of 30 and 44. 26.68% of the respondents were between the age of 45 and 60. And 9.01% of the respondents were older than 60. Biological gender, or people who identified as male or female, the responses were as such. 47.30% identified as male. 52.70% identified as female. Household income demographics. Answer choices and responses: 0 to $9,999. 12.16% of the respondents had that income level. 10,000 to $24,999. 10.81% of the respondents fell into that income bracket. 25,000 to $49,999. 27.07% of the respondents fell into that category. 50,000 to $74,999. 19.37% of the respondents fell into that category. 100,000 to $124,999. 8.11% fell into that income category. 125,000 to $149,999. 1.8% fell into that income bracket. 150 to $174,999. 0.9% fell into that bracket. 175,000 to $199,999. 0.45% of the respondents were in that category. And $200,000 plus per annum, 1.5% of the respondents fell into that. There were a number who did not respond to that question, who preferred not to answer. That total is 8.56%. The total number of respondents to the 27 question survey is 222. The respondents were from the following regions: New England, 3.70%, Mid-Atlantic, 17.59%, East North Central, 12.5%, West North Central, 3.24%, South Atlantic, 30.56%, East South Central, 6.48%, West South Central, 8.33%, Mountain, 2.78%, Pacific, 14.81%. We're analyzing the data and the weighing the methodology that we utilized for the design of the questions and how the design impacted the data in an effort to make sure that as we expand the focus of the surveys, that we're able to understand the true intent of the respondents and really what this data means. Also, this survey was conducted in 2021, and we are, of course, in the midst of a pandemic response and perhaps recovery. So, what impact did COVID have on the survey? I want to thank you very much for taking the time to listen and sit through some of this. And, the intent is to make you aware of the project, the creation of the State of African American Preparedness 2021 report, to invite you to contribute to the report, to invite you to do your own due diligence in your Fed, state, and local emergency response agencies and resources, and to ensure that those who need help get it. I want to thank you again very much. You can follow this project on my podcast, Black and Ready with Don L Rondeau. I'll be posting results and talking about them again on the podcast, on Twitter, and selectively on my LinkedIn account, Don L Rondeau. You can also contact me directly via those same social networks. Thank you very much. Stay safe.